Well, hello, hello, and welcome to the Coaching Business Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Kat Knecht, and I'm excited to share with you the many soul driven strategies there are to help you succeed in your business and your life. Today, we're going to look at one of my very favorite topics, which is visioning. We have a very special, I'm using the word very a lot here because I think it's true, a very special series. So, this is the beginning of a three-part series where I am going to unpack for you and lay it out a visioning process that I have been working on for many years, probably 30 some years. And in the past 22 years, I believe it's been, my husband and business partner, Curtis, has been helping me to hone this process, to create it, to make it better and better, to pick ourselves up off of the floor after we failed at times. So we're going to look at all of that in these three parts. Now, I have, as I said, I've been doing this a long time. And what would you say, Curtis? So, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the how this has iterated and evolved over the years. I would say it's because we have been very intentional at creating our life from a vision and looking to see how to do the visioning, how to actually look into the future to get a sense of what we want to create, and then how we have learned how to accurately do that, as well as how to follow and stay on track with our vision.
That's absolutely true. We
Okay,
have been,
good.
I came into this with the CTI future self visualization 24 years ago, and it had such an impact on me that when you and I got together and made this commitment to live our life from a vision, it part of me was skeptical. Like, I'm not sure, I'm very left brainy type. But yeah, it just has always made sense to me in some intuitive way.
Yeah, an intuitive way. And I love that you're bringing in that future self because many coaches who are listening to this podcast might remember or recall when they first were introduced to visioning. It's a very basic, I'm going to say, concept of coaching is that we help our clients look into the future. Visioning is a way of bypassing all the present limitations that our minds put in our way. We go to the future. It's like, well, sure, yeah, in 5 years I can make that happen because, we don't have to do it right now. So I came into coaching already, like I had already been visioning for a while. So I knew it worked because I'd had visions that I had a vision of things that I was able to create. I want to lay this out for people because I think that one of the misconceptions of visioning, I'll put this out there, and then I'm going to talk about our new vision course just to give the listeners an idea of what we're going to be talking about over these three shows. Misconception is, I think it comes on both ends. One is that visioning is about dreaming up things that are impossible. I think there's some, I see the look on your face, right? Because there's some teachers who that's how they teach visioning. You go into dreamland, you dream up these grandiose things that are going to be very hard to make a reality and may not even be something that makes you happy or fulfilled. That's one misconception. Misconception number two that I've seen people do is to just keep it very, very linear and practical. Okay, I want to make this much money this year, and that seems like it could easily happen. But so they kind of, it's like too goal oriented. I'm kind of curious what you think about that. Like
I've done
how
both.
you've done both.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there's the pie in the sky visioning
Pie
that
in the sky.
when I do it, it feels so good. And it's like, wow, that's just amazing. I'd love to have that. And then there's no follow-up. There's
No follow up.
no legs, no ground under it, and then it has the opposite effect of well, I don't believe in visioning because it doesn't work.
Right. So it's like it becomes I was trying to think of a metaphor for this. It really actually has people losing hope and again thinking, well, yeah, I remember a visioning I did in a class I was in, and I was visioning being on Oprah and, being on the front of People magazine, and it was fun, but it didn't actually get at the heart of what I actually wanted to create. It was more of a like that would be cool. Yes. But not again, those are more just like ideas other people have about what it is that's going to make us fulfilled. So this broadcast is right before most people, you might already be on your holiday, but this is kind of like the beginning of what we think of as the holiday season. No matter what your religion or spiritual beliefs are, most people, many people anyway, take some time this time of year, take off of work, have a little more downtime. So this is the perfect time to vision, because I'm going to put this in here right now. It takes time. And the best way to vision is to give the visioning a space so that you have that time to dream and to
Mm,
look at what's happening in your life and look at what's important and what you really want. Here's a couple of I wrote a blog. My last blog was about the origin story of how you and I began the first process that's in our visioning process now. I think of this visioning as there are two sayings or two quotes: begin with the end in mind. This is a powerful concept to actually know here's where I'm headed. Here's where I would like to go. So when you start already knowing, oh, this is what I'm aiming for, it makes the journey so much more fun and easy and fulfilling. Another metaphor I think of with visioning is measure twice, cut once. You can actually imagine how you want your life to be. And then in that imagining, you take, you get the exact measurements. It's like you're not just guessing, it's not just guesswork. It's you've already felt into it. So we have been honing this, as I've said, we have used it with clients so many times. We've done it ourselves. We've learned how to create our fulfilling life. We've helped, I don't know, I'm going to say hundreds of people. We've done workshops. I mean, if there's one thing we actually have done, more than anything,
Do you
it's
remember the
it's
Oracle visioning we started out with? I counted once that within a year or so, we had done 60.
oh my
60
gosh. So
different,
I'm not
60.
exaggerating
You're
with
not
hundreds and
exaggerating. No, you're
hundreds.
not. We did 60 with the
Yeah.
first year or two, and I still have mine in storage. I looked at it the other day, and a lot of what I imagined that was 20 some odd years ago
Yeah.
has come to pass.
So there you go. I do consider myself like this is one of my superpowers, something I happen to know how to guide people to, because that Oracle vision was guiding people into that place, that dreamy place, that wisdom of the soul, that knowing we have about what we want. That's really what it is. It's like that knowing. It can seem supernatural, and sometimes it is. I mean, sometimes things come through those visions. You're like, I have no idea how that could possibly be true, how I could know something so accurately. So there is a piece that's magical. But here's how we put it together now, because that piece is going to come later. That's going to come, the magical piece is going to come in our next episode of this podcast. But what I wrote in the blog, my last blog, is so I have been really good at those visualizations and setting goals and creating a plan. But one of the things that Curtis helped me with in the beginning was, so if we're going to move forward and get into action around something we want, don't you think it would be useful to take a look back? I remember exactly when we talked about this, because I was like, no, 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 I just want to get going. Let's go. Let's see what do we want. And you really had me stop. So the first piece in this process, and the one we're going to focus some time on today, is we call it a year in review. Then next we go to the what we call the soul strategy visualization. This is what we put into our new soul strategy vision course. These steps: year in review, soul strategy visualization. That's where you actually go on a guided journey to take a look and see what you think might happen. That's where there's a lot of that inner wisdom comes forward. No, there's visual inspiration. There's creating a visual. Most people think of it as a vision board, which is how we do it. We're going to unpack that a little more in our next episode. There's these four parts that kind of go together. Know where you're going. That's goals, destination points. What do you want to accomplish? Ask powerful questions because you think there's a first pass at goals, then you want to go on a deeper dive. Really, what's important? Is that actually what you want? What makes your heart sing? The next one is to make a map, which is you map out the big chunks. This is the easiest way I know to do it. Like if we're looking at what we want to create this year, gosh, let's see, like if we put it in a year's time, what would that look like? Create good habits to support making your vision a reality. And last but not least, plan and evolve your vision. I'm going to say that last one when we get to that episode, which is going to be the episode that comes on near the end of January. I think you and I have honed that one to an excellent degree over the last couple of years. I'm just going to say we really learned that, like you said earlier, it's not just setting the vision. It's like, okay, now what are we going to do in order to make that?
Ooh.
What are we going to do? What are the steps we're going to take? Really looking when you have that in mind already. Why I wanted to put this in the listener's mind to begin with the end in mind is you're going to be creating your vision, knowing that you're going to get into action around it. The kind of visioning that Curtis and I do and that our course promotes is one that where you participate in making it a reality. You don't just make a vision board and say, "Ooh, that looks pretty. I can't wait till I'm having a drink off the coast, in Tahiti or something." And isn't that going to be fun? You're actually going to put things on your vision board in your vision that okay, I'm willing, I'm committed to doing what it takes to make that a reality. All right. So the first step, a year in review. What are some of the ways, Curtis, that you like to look back at your year to kind of get access to the things that have happened?
Probably the Google Calendar. Look back through the months and days and weeks and all. Well, photos.
Yeah,
All
photos are a
the,
good one, right?
all
On
the
our phones.
photos
Yeah.
from the year go back. They're all date stamped, so I can tell. The conversation with you. I mean,
Yeah, so having
I'm lucky.
conversations. Yeah.
I I get to I get to remember in tandem.
In dialogue, yeah.
Yeah, but anyone can do that. You can say what went on then? What exactly?
So,
Um,
so just to bring this to our listeners, when you begin to do this process, and I'm really going to encourage you to do it, here's just some simple things. Set aside some time. That's, like I said earlier, most important. And just get out your phone and start flipping back through the calendar, through your Google Calendar, or maybe you have a paper calendar. Take a look back. Look back through your photos. I love that, because they're time stamped. So you can see, oh, wow, that's what happened this past year. You can kind of take a look at the expanse of what your year's been like. There's some other places to poke around. Here's a so we do online banking. I look back through some of our bank, through credit cards. I do a little because it's getting ready. It's a good thing to do. I like to manage our money and keep an eye on it. That's another way to go. Oh, right. We took that trip or we bought that new bed or, you kind of get a sense of some of the things that might not show up other places. And here's how this exercise, how we have found it works best. And this is in our course and the workshop that we just did. As you're doing this, you want to have some way of tracking what you're seeing. And the way that we have it to make it kind of pithy is looking at the highlights, the lowlights, and then we're going to talk a little bit here about how you get the insights. So I'm going to first talk about the highlights. So you want to, I think this is the first thing to do. You go back and say, what were the really like, whoa, yay, I did it. You might want to look also at your vision board if you had one. Maybe you set goals at the beginning of the year. Go back and take a look at those goals. Wherever you have things, structure where you've put in place, here's what I wanted to accomplish, and here's what happened. Go take a look at those and again, find some place to write this down when you notice these are things that really make me feel good when I see that I did them or that they happened to me. And just note them. This is like pulling out all the, the happy pictures and going, "Oh, that was a really great event." Just write them down.
I
Next,
might,
and
and I
yeah, go
might
ahead.
offer, as you write them down, to allow yourself to re-experience them both
Mm,
individually, but also the patterns that emerge, the experiences that one led to another that really worked, and to feel the accomplishment, feel the experience. There's an embodiment that I'm offering here that is, I mean, we do a lot of this when we're walking. So, that the conversation, the walking it into the world kind of
mm.
feeling is really good.
I love that you're bringing that forward. So important. The word we use in coactive coaching is resonance. You feel that resonance like, oh, that was fulfilling. And as you're feeling it, that's the creative process. We feel
Yeah.
something and embody it. We get it in the body and it's like, oh, that's what I want more of. That was worthwhile. Again, it's not just a head. It's not just oh yeah, I made a little more money or so, not that that's a bad thing, but you feel it, the feeling. So you actually get fulfillment in the looking back. It's so much fun. It really, really, really is. Now, the next piece is just as important. I was going to say maybe more important, but it's just as important is to look at the low lights. What's your words of advice about that, pulling those out and addressing them?
Here's where the rubber hits the road.
Ooh.
Because it's really important to be truthful and transparent with yourself there. Like, what failed? What was a disappointment? What didn't work for me? Maybe others thought that was great, big success out there publicly, but for you, it felt like you sold out on yourself. So these are places where you sell out on yourself. You had expectations that weren't met, and you're disappointed. You flat out failed. Those kind of lowlights that that are sometimes our greatest teachers, and that's the whole point of this: is, ooh, what can I learn from this? What's here for me to know? Either something I'm definitely need to leave behind, something I need to stop doing, something, oh, I need to really improve here. I really need to learn how to grow into this area of my life.
So you want to have your saboteur, in a closet. This is not about judging yourself as being wrong, because one of the things you reminded me of with that, Curtis, you also might find, I found this so many times in this exercise, something I thought was a failure, and I got that just wasn't the right thing for me to do. I mean, it was a failure in a sense. I'm like, that wasn't me. Like, I guess it's that selling out thing, but it's like, oh, I actually thought I did it wrong, but I didn't do it wrong. It just wasn't the thing for me to do. Or maybe you used to like doing that and now you've moved on and you're still trying to do things, in an old way. So that's kind of
Yeah.
where, like, get curious. I recommend that you first just cull all the evidence. You look back, you put it on the highlights and lowlights. So you just kind of have the facts in front of you. And then you take some time to do some unpacking. You mentioned that, like really taking a look, what does this mean to me? What actually do I want to learn from this? That's the higher bar of conscious creation is
I love
being willing to learn.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about judgment. Let go of the judgment and bring curiosity forward.
Yeah. It's not easy, but it's fun. I'm going to say it's actually fun even when you feel some things are going to be an ouch. They're going to be like, I did that again? Really? Oh my gosh, I haven't learned. But if you can bring the curiosity and a little bit of like, I'm a human, I can forgive myself. It's good to see it again. Maybe I'll go a little bit step higher in this coming year.
And I want to say the same thing I said about the positive and the highlights. When you do the lowlights, let it hurt.
Ooh, ooh, ouch.
There's something about allowing the ouch. The ouch is really teaching me, the hot stove lesson. No, don't touch it again. Or
Mm.
this is deep. This is important to me. It's really not denying the failure emotionally and embodied. Let it be in your body a little bit too.
I'm having a sense memory as you say that. I remember the year we did this exercise, and I had not yet written my first book. And I took a look at, I had that on my goal board. I had books on our vision board, you know, a couple of years. I remember that one year I looked at it and the ouch was just like, I don't ever want to feel this again. Again, I'm like, that's a true, real desire of mine that I keep selling out on, and I'm just done with it. And that's the piece of this exercise. So we talk, this is, we're really looking at the insights here, right? You look at the highlights. I suggest highlights first, then lowlights, and then you cull it for the insights. And here is the last piece of this exercise I want to explore with you a little bit. This is when you make the choice on what you want to bring forward and what you want to leave behind. So this is a powerful coaching exercise. We realize, what do you want to step into? What do you want to leave behind? I actually believe this is the most powerful part of the whole exercise. So I'm going to just lay out how we do it. And I'd love to then kind of hear, your thoughts on that, Curtis. So we pull for, again, the positive first. So even if it was a failure you learned from, like my book, so I bring forward, I love to write. Writing is one of my favorite things. Writing a book I've got it in my heart and soul. I'm doing it this year. I bring that forward. So leaving behind, then you want to be really clear with yourself. Maybe it's procrastination. Maybe it's not giving time to what is important to me. You want to look at the failures, and like you were talking about embodying, and you have our fireplace behind you on this video. And so I'm reminded what we literally do is we write down everything we want to leave behind. So you want to be clear with yourself, because it's usually behaviors, ways of thinking about yourself. Maybe it's activities you've taken part in, like you're just done with it.
Mm.
And in some way, physically, have an exercise where we burn it up. We throw them in the fireplace, burn them up. You might just want to rip it up. Yeah, tell me what your experience is with that part of this ritual.
Well, I think of it as the yeses and the nos. And when we do the no's, and this is what I'm leaving behind, and we do something physical like burn it, I love to burn them up because there's a freedom. Is that there's a release. I
Mm-hmm.
feel a release
Yeah.
and an openness and a like, oh, okay, I'm leaving that behind. And then the stepping into is it might be a gulp, but a lot of times it's God, I love this.
Yeah.
This is what I want more of.
Yeah, I love how I knew you were going to be helpful in describing that, because it is a releasing. It's an energetic release, because we hold on, otherwise we hold on to our failures. We beat ourselves up about it, and that
Right.
actually keeps it going. It just keeps just keeps the same behavior going. It keeps it all moving. the negative moving forward. There's an energetic release. I have a belief in spirit. I have a belief that there is a spiritual source we connect with. I think it's powerful to say to ourselves, to that like, I'm really not doing this anymore. I'm actually letting go of this way of behaving, thinking. I'm just really, really done. And it opens up space. So I have called this process in the past cleaning out the closet of your year. Because the feeling you get when you clean out your closet and you've
Mhm.
let go of those old things that you don't like anymore, or you're just done with them. And all you have left in your closet are the things that you love. It's kind of that, what was her name? Marie Kondo, it's kind of that concept, only the things that you love. Now you have room for what is new, what you actually want to cultivate and create. Otherwise, your energy is just all jammed and
Hmm.
there's not space for something new to actually be created and come through you. Truth, right? I mean, that's the feeling of doing this ritual. And I want to end a couple of things here. So one thing I said, take the time. I don't want to overdo that thought. Like, you don't make it a great big project so you don't actually do it. I know Curtis and I have sat down. We like to use these little cards. They're smaller than index. I think they're like 2 by 2, or and you
Yeah.
can just write these things down. Here are the highlights, here are the lowlights, insights, and now I'm going to do this ritual. We have done this last part of the ritual in an hour, where we just sit and say, I'm done with that, done with that, done with that, moving that forward. It doesn't have to take a huge long amount of time. So take that in and put some time on your calendar, maybe sometime in the next 2 weeks before January 1st. Okay. Because on January 2nd is going to be the next segment of this podcast where we're going to be walking you through our New Year's visioning process. These are the steps we have in our course. We have a workshop coming up on January 13th where we're actually going to do a piece of this. And it's a free workshop, 11 a.m. Pacific time. We'd love to have you join us. But you're going to get a preview of this on the next podcast. And we actually, if you're interested after that, we have worksheets. We have worksheets. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I would love to do that ritual, just send us a message, send us an email, Kat and Curtis at souldrivensuccess.com, and we will let you know how to get some worksheets so you can simply work through this process on your own. So I've kind of set that up. Anything you want to end this segment with, Curtis, about the year in review, what it's meant for you, what you want to encourage people as we send them off for their holiday?
So if you're listening to this, you've come to the end, you've listened all the way through. I'm going to make up that you are really committed and interested in doing a visioning process. And,
Hmm.
and I'm just going to support that 100%. It's the most powerful process for staying true to yourself and
Mm.
creating what the kind of life that is true to yourself, that feels good, that accomplishes things, does good stuff in the world. So,
Wow, that's a way to bring it home. I love that. This is the most powerful way of staying true to yourself. What could be more enrolling than that? And I'm going to second that. Give yourself the gift. I'm going to get cheesy here. Give yourself the gift this holiday season of
Merry Christmas, Happy
do happy, yeah,
Hanukkah.
whatever you're celebrating. Give yourself the
Well,
gift of some time to do a year in review, looking back at your year so you can have a clean and clear. Thanks for joining us today. We will be back January 2nd. Be sure to tune in for part 2 of our visioning process. All right. Happy holidays.